Hey, what's happening? This is Isai Rodriguez, host of the Dad's for Nation podcast, where I cater to the professional working man, 40 and above, who's looking to make positive changes to his health, lose weight, and become stronger overall through simple lifestyle changes. I'm here to share inspiration, tips, and proven lessons that I personally learned and lived through in my 40 plus years on this beautiful blue planet. So today, we'll be talking about the 4 reasons why you shouldn't skip your physical this year. And then we'll move on to our second segment with jump rope versus running, which is a better workout. And before we get into that, if you'd like to continue the conversation, then get on over to podcast.dadfornation.com/VIP to get on the VIP Insiders community, where I share more entertaining behind the scenes stories, tips, and hacks that'll keep you feeling younger each and every day. That's podcast.dadfornation.com/VIP. Again, that's podcast.dadfornation.com/VIP. Be in the know starting right now. Also, don't forget to rate me on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you're listening to this episode right now, and leave me a nice, fat, juicy 5-star review and some absolutely beautiful words of why you love the show so much. It really helps me get the word out, and it's honestly the one place where your vote truly matters. And now, let's move into our first segment, Healthy Conversations. So with everything going on last year with COVID and social distancing, telecommuting, etc., I have to admit that I didn't make it to my physical in 2020, but I'm truly determined to make it happen this year. And even though hospitals quickly became like COVID battlegrounds, it's no wonder that people are, understandably a bit scared at the thought of visiting a doctor, any doctor, their doctor or like a hospital or anything like that. But now more than ever, we need to make a real effort to avoid getting sick and part of the, and essentially being part of that equation, or as they say, being a statistic, So, and part of that equation of not getting sick is basically visiting your doctor for your annual physical. So the annual physical is all about addressing health concerns and reducing health risks, And even though you feel completely fine, you might not think that anything's wrong. You feel good. You don't personally feel the need to go to the doctor. You have to realize that a visit to your doctor goes way beyond like the physical itself. It's having that in-depth discussion about risk factors to your health. Those are just as important as blood work and other preventative services. In fact, for a lot of people, 1 or more years may have passed since their last physical, and I guarantee that a lot has changed. That's a long time to wait between physicals, and not only a long time to wait, but a long time for shit to go wrong, for lack of better terms, especially in the setting of, the current pandemic. And this visit, to your doctor is a way to intervene early enough and to avoid larger health problems from getting any worse. So here are 4 reasons you shouldn't skip your physical this year. So the first reason you shouldn't skip your physical is that physicals are even more important during the pandemic. Why? Well, people have, chronic conditions like heart disease or diabetes. First off, they're at a higher risk for severe COVID. So if you're not being screened or monitored for your chronic diseases, you're at an even higher risk of getting sicker because you have an uncontrolled chronic disease, and then you're taking that risk of complicating your disease by getting COVID. And even if you don't have a chronic disease and feel, again, relatively fine, you never know what could be happening internally. Or I should say, you don't know what's going on if you don't have an annual physical. For instance, fatigue is a very common symptom that a lot of people experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're sleep deprived. It could be signs of anemia. It could be signs of thyroid issues. But until we get it checked out and you talk to your doctor, you'll never know what's the cause of that specific symptom. So get on over to your doctor and start talking to them, figure out what's going on. The second reason why you shouldn't skip your physical is that, a return to normalcy might be far away. Let's just call this one out. If you're putting off your physical until things return to normal, as they say, then you might be waiting longer than you think. Because there are vaccines out there now, but look how long it took us to get to where we are right now. The reality is that it's not going to bring us back to a pre-COVID way of life anytime soon. So it's important not to delay your preventive care, any longer than you have already. It's important to not avoid seeking medical attention for, your ongoing concerns while a vaccine is on the horizon, even though, it's currently being administered and it's out to the public and I think they've hit off the first responders and now they're moving into I don't know what they call it, like a phase 2, but they're hitting all the elderly people. Again, it might be a good amount of time before things truly return to that sense of normal, quote unquote, that many of us are hoping to get to. So waiting for that new normal could be a lot longer than anticipated and can end up amplifying health risks that go unaddressed. You know what I mean? So again, get on over to your doctor and have that conversation. Anyway, the third reason why you shouldn't skip your physical is that doctors' offices are taking the necessary precautions. They are the front lines. They understand this probably better than we can. They have that inside information that we don't. And even though it can be scary thought, you really shouldn't be afraid of catching COVID at the doctor's office. Early on in the pandemic, it was a good idea to defer some care, unless you absolutely needed it. But as we dealt with the increasing cases of an illness, we had no idea how it acted, or how to handle it, So that was kind of understandable at first, but since then we've kind of learned a tremendous amount since those early days, And we now have protocols in place to safely care for patients while, also managing COVID in a way that prevents transmission between patients. I mean, it's not perfect. Nothing is really, but they're in place, and they work for the most part when followed. You know what I'm saying? So for example, many precautions are taken before a patient even enters the office. When you make an appointment, you're asked a series of 20 questions or so to figure out if you have, any of the COVID symptoms. And then if you have any symptoms, they automatically proceed through a telemedicine appointment or a video virtual appointment, basically. And that's to keep you safe, to keep the doctor safe, and to keep everyone in the office safe. They're able to do a lot of diagnosing through telemedicine before a patient even sets foot into the office. And if a patient does have COVID and needs to be seen by a doctor, well, guess what? They go to a room that's separate from the other patients. You know what I mean? And if you make it through the initial screening, you're stopped again at the door, and again you're asked another series of questions as well as getting, your temperature taken. And let's not forget that, all the doctors, everyone all the doctors and all the supporting staff, they're all wearing their PPE, and the rooms are being cleaned between every visit and wiped down with bleach and everything and whatnot. And just to make sure that the rooms are sanitized properly. So, I mean, you can see that there's a lot being done. So again, get on over to your doctor's office and don't skip that physical. The fourth reason you shouldn't skip your physical at this moment is that you can get a physical without even leaving your home. Although it sounds strange, I kind of remember a time way back when doctors actually made house calls. And that's technically what I'm talking about here, except back in the day, doctors would physically come to your house. And they would check you out and give you a clean bill of health or whatnot. But these days, with the internet and Zoom and other video messaging systems, it's really possible to get your physical exam through a video chat or a call, And some insurances will even cover a virtual physical, but, don't take my word for it. Definitely check in with your provider before making an appointment like that, because I'm pretty sure that many don't, So just dot your I's and cross your T's with that. But that is a possibility, and most doctors can assess a patient pretty dang well just by simply looking at them. So if a patient is, breathing funny, then something is wrong. You can see that on a computer screen. If the patient is in distress, you can see that on the screen, I mean, obviously they can't hear, your lungs, they can't hear your heart or, feel their stomach and stuff like that, but they can actually assess the patient just by the way they're talking, by the way they look, by the way they're formulating their thoughts, these are all telltale signs. These are all signs that they generally use in person to assess you, but those type of assessments can be done over the computer, over video chat, so that at the end of the day, these telemedicine sessions are in fact a reality. So with those 4 reasons in your face, don't miss your physical this year. And with that said, let's move on to our second segment, Mighty Man. So in this segment, we're talking about jumping rope versus running. Which one is better than the other for getting in great shape? Well, let's just get right into it, because if you've been brainwashed by decades of cardio-loving experts, then you might be surprised to find out that running is a huge waste of time. Not only that, but you might even be increasing your risk of injury compared to jumping rope. Now, of course, this is true unless you're training for a specific race or a marathon of sorts. And before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about a couple of the common questions that come up in the whole jump rope versus running discussions. And first and foremost, people always wonder if jumping rope is even a good cardio workout. And believe it or not, it absolutely is. So if you've jumped rope for just a few minutes, you'll understand how challenging it is. Like literally just a few minutes of quality jump roping, or as my son calls it, skipping rope. Just a few minutes will have you huffing and puffing because it really engages more muscles than what running does. Think about that. Your arms, your core, and your legs. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that running works those exact same muscles, right? And, the short answer is yes, but not in the same way as does, rope jumping, you know what I mean? And now, since muscle requires oxygen ideally to produce energy, the more muscle involved in an activity, the more oxygen you need to bring into your body. And so that's why you start breathing more and more heavily. So from a time perspective, jumping rope is much more effective, It basically takes less time for your body to get to this heavy breathing stage when you're jumping rope versus running to achieve the same benefits, And because jumping rope requires greater technique, it incorporates more muscles than running, which also leads to the burning of more calories in less time. So because of all this, the total time you spend jumping rope is far less than the total time in a continuous running workout. This gives you a more intense workout and less stress on your body from impact. And speaking of impact, this is the biggest problem with running. It's all the repetitive shock involved, the impact. You can think of this like the mileage on a car. So here's what I mean. Have you ever driven a 10 or 15-year-old car with low mileage on it? Let's say a 15-year-old car with, 15,000 miles on it. Have you? Like how smooth is that ride? If you've driven a car like that, you understand how impressively smooth, right? Like you're thinking, wow, this car is 15 years old, but it drives so smooth. And that's because of the low mileage. Now, have you ever driven a similar car, maybe a 5-year-old car with, I don't know, 200,000 to 300,000 miles on it? How smooth is that ride? Not as smooth as the old car with low mileage on it, right? That's how the activity of running takes a toll on your body. It's the whole wear and tear. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a high impact activity. Plus, most runners don't even run with good form, which is one of the reasons why the yearly incidence rate for running injuries varies between 37 and 56%. In fact, about 50 to 75% of all running injuries are overuse injuries due to, constant repetition of the same movement over and over and over again. And some of the things associated with running injuries, they include things like, previous injury or, lack of running experience, running to compete, and excessive weekly running distance. It's enough to say that if you're running on a regular basis, and this can be on a treadmill or outdoors, it doesn't matter really. If you're doing it consistently, you will eventually develop some kind of nagging injury. Like it's gonna bother you, it's gonna get to you. It doesn't matter, unless that is if you know how to run properly. And yes, there is a way to run properly, So both in terms of form and workout protocol, because the reality is that most people have no idea. So for instance, lots of runners heel strike when running. This is not good at all, It's not good because heel striking is like slamming on the brakes each time your feet hits the ground. And the resulting force, which can usually be about 3 times your body weight, this force is mostly transmitted right through the passive structures of your body. So, the joints and the bones in your body instead of the active muscles. Now, a midfoot or forefoot strike, which naturally happens when you run barefoot, is where the body is over top the foot and basically absorbing the force through the muscles, not the joints. So this is a lot safer and more effective for energy transfer while running, and also reduces the risk of injury. And now, jumping rope typically prevents these impacts that you'd normally be subject to with heel strike running. It basically forces you to land on the toes and use the untapped power in your calves, and the combined power of the quads and the hamstrings, the glutes, and your core, they all work together synergistically, and it's almost like you have to do it right. It automatically trains you to do it right, because if not, you're gonna get nowhere fast. As anybody that has jumped rope for a while, they can tell you how difficult it was at first, and after a while it became natural, and that's the reason why a lot of people don't even like doing the jump rope. They find it uncomfortable. They feel like it's not working, but it's because they don't. It's really because they don't know the right form, or they haven't given it enough time. That's basically it. And if you don't believe me, I'd love you to try jumping rope by landing on your heels. I'm not kidding. That's a terrible idea, but if you were to do it, I can guarantee it'll be the most painful jump rope session you'll ever have. But that's the kind of impact your body goes through when running. So, comparing the rope to running, much of the impact of jumping rope is taken through the leg muscles, and the erect posture needed and long spine needed forces your abs to hold your core nice and tight and to work in perfect coordination with the back muscles, to form the same kind of internal pressure as a weight belt. So internally, your muscles are supporting you, your midsection as if you had one of those weight belts on. Think about it. All of this, it supports your torso and transfers energy more efficiently through your body. And the other reason why jumping rope is better than running for, burning fat purposes and getting into great shape is because it's barely possible to do with poor form, as I mentioned earlier. learn. The rope is your teacher, and you'll continue to make mistakes, tripping on the rope, having the rope lash your arms as your timing starts to get squirrely. The rope will guide you until you learn how to do it properly. So in other words, if you have poor jump rope technique, you can't jump rope, period. You'll be forced naturally to develop the right form. And now, unfortunately, if you have poor running technique, and again, almost all people do, you can still go out and pound the pavement, which is a great little recipe for disaster. And what about interval training and leg strength? Is running or jumping rope better? Well, first off, interval training involves repeated rounds of high and low intensity exercise that vary in duration. So, let's just get that out of the way. And one of the challenges with running intervals is simply that. Think about that. The very premise of high interval training, or HIIT as it's known, is that changing of speed. Again, think about that. Like quickly changing from, let's say, jogging to sprinting can really pose a potential injury to your hip flexors, your quads, your hamstrings, and, other muscles. And too many people are not properly trained for higher intensity running. And on top of that, doing short interval sprints of like 5 to 20 seconds on the treadmill is almost impossible because of the time it takes for the treadmill just to change from a slow speed to its maximum speed. With jumping rope, none of this is an issue, period. You can quickly and easily change speeds by increasing the speed of the rope at this, basically at the snap of a finger without worrying about getting injured or anything like that. And when it comes to strengthening your legs, especially your calves, jumping rope is incredible. Think about it. You're landing on the ball of your foot each time it hits the ground. Each time it hits the floor, you're landing properly. This is exactly how you activate and develop your calves. Think of gymnasts who are trained from almost birth to walk, run, and bounce on the balls of their feet. Their calves and legs have beautiful shape and strength. It's almost picture perfect. Plus, unlike running with jumping rope, you can repeatedly land on the same leg to achieve like an isolated leg strengthening workout if you like. There's really endless possibilities. And so by now, there should be no surprise that jumping rope is the better all-around, quote-unquote, exercise option compared to running. Again, it's safer, more time efficient, it forces good posture and core activation, recruits almost all of your muscles, and it leads to greater lower body strength improvements. And even if you're a runner who's training for a 5K race or a marathon, jumping rope every so often as a cross-training activity will be a huge benefit for you. So I've put together 4 5-minute jump rope workouts that I think will help whip you into shape. No pun intended. And these are simply to help you get started with, the whole jumping rope. You can start with these exercises that I give you and then explore from there once you get comfortable with them and you move through the different workouts and become more confident. So each one only takes 5 minutes, and trust me, you'll be uber thankful that they're only 5 minutes by the time you're done. They're set up in interval training fashion, so combining sets of high and low intensity exercises to give you, the maximum benefits in less time or the least amount of time. So what you want to do is for each of these workouts, start with some light skipping, maybe 2 to 3 minutes as you warm up. And once you're feeling warm, you can jump right into any of these workouts that I'm about to give you here. So the first workout is more of a beginner workout, and it's pretty simple. It's you start off with a quick 5 seconds. Only 5 seconds, that's it. But these 5 seconds are going to be at 100%, like your max. You're going to give it your all. Just 5 seconds. That'll be like your work interval. Then you're going to hit your, you're going to hit a 25-second recovery interval. So after your 5 seconds, you do your 5, and then you do about 25 seconds at about half the intensity, or about 65%, nice and easy. Just take your time, do your 5 really hard, then switch over to 25 seconds, and that's it. That's 30 seconds. Repeat that 10 times, and you got about 5 minutes of a great workout at the beginner level. So workout number 2, you got it. We're going to bump it up to intermediate. And this time, after you warm up, you're going to hit off, you're going to hit up the rope for about 10 seconds at your max. So it's a little bit more than the last workout. We're going to double the 5 seconds. We're going to 10 seconds. So you do your 10 seconds of max workout, and then you're going to drop it to, the nice and easy intensity at, 65% or so. You're going to do that for 20 seconds. That's your recovery interval. So again, you do your 10 at max and then 20 seconds at half to 65% intensity. And that'll give you a total of 30 seconds. Again, repeat that 10 times. And you got a 5-minute intermediate workout. So the third workout we're going to go through, you probably guessed it by now, it's an advanced workout. We're basically just going to flip the work and the recovery intervals from the intermediate workout. So in the intermediate, we had a work interval of 10 seconds and a recovery interval of 20. We're going to reverse that and do a work interval of 20 seconds. So we're going to do 20 seconds of, your max intensity. You're going to go hard. You're bringing it, you know what I mean? And then you're going to do a quick 10 seconds of recovery. And that's where nice and easy. You slow down. You're thinking 50%. It's literally what it's called. It's a recovery. You're trying to recover your breath. You catch your breath. You catch your energy back. You know what I mean? But it's only 10 seconds. Again, that's why this is the advanced, So you do 20 at max, 10 at half to about 65%, nice and easy, 10 and 20 and 10 is 30 seconds. Repeat that 10 times and you got a 5-minute workout. And you probably notice how each of these workouts are 30-second blocks, repeated 10 times. The only difference was the amount of work versus recovery time. So the easier workout or the beginner is a shorter hard work interval followed by a longer recovery interval. Whereas the harder workout or the advanced had a longer work interval and a shorter recovery interval. But they all add up to 5-minute workouts. That's the beauty of it. You can, in 5 minutes, whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, whether you're advanced, 5 minutes is all you need to get a nice, good burn with the jump rope. And again, this is just a jumping point. This is just to get you started, Once you do these 5 minutes, you can go crazy. You can start experimenting. You can do doubles. You can do triples, whatever. It's up to you. It's your workout, But here's a helpful tip. So to easily make an interval workout more challenging, all you have to do is to reduce your recovery, the interval. It's pretty much that's it. You don't even need to touch the work interval. Trust me, you'll feel the difference right away, or as the Brits say, straight away. And the fourth, let's move on to the fourth workout. The fourth workout is also like an advanced workout, but it's more geared towards it's more of a leg sculptor. Like it hits your legs pretty good. And you start off with a right leg interval for 10 seconds. So for 10 seconds, you're hopping on your right leg at about half the intensity, or half to 65%. You don't want to go super easy. We're not. You want to go hard, but you don't want to kill yourself, So you do that for 10 seconds, and then you get to switch to your left leg, and then 10 seconds hopping on your left leg again at that half to 65% intensity. And then your recovery interval, you have 2 recovery intervals. Well, actually, not back to back, but you have, you do your right leg, then your left leg, then you recover 20 seconds. And during this recovery interval, what you're going to be doing is for 20 seconds, you'll be hopping on both legs, again, at an easy 50 to 65% intensity. And so after that 20 seconds, then we're going to turn it up. We're going to do the right leg and then recovery again. So then after that 20 seconds, we're going to start again on your right leg. So for 10 seconds, you'll be hopping on your right leg at max intensity. So you're going to be giving it your all, everything. You're going to bring it. You're showing up, 10 seconds on your right and then 10 seconds on your left, again, hopping up and down, bringing the fire, bringing it all. You know what I mean? Like this is where you shine, Once you do that 10 seconds on the right and then 10 seconds on the left, then we're gonna jump into the recovery interval. And this last recovery interval, or I should say the second, it's pretty easy. 20 seconds hopping on both legs at 100%. Again, at your max. So it's kind of misleading, it's like recovery, but we're giving it all, So maybe I'll rename that as a double leg interval or something like that. So this is 10 seconds plus on the right, 10 seconds on the left, and then 20 seconds on both legs. And then again, 10 seconds on the right, 10 seconds on the left, and then 20 seconds on both legs. And the first set is 65%, 50, nice and easy, 50% to 65% intensity, and then followed by the max intensity. That's 80 seconds in total for one set. Do this 3 times, and that's a total of 4 minutes. So this is even quicker than the other exercise, the other workouts. This is only a 4-minute workout, but again, this is more geared towards, sculpting your legs, and trust me, this one definitely does that. And again, this is just a jump off point, this is where you start, and then you can take it from there. If you're feeling good, you do an extra set, whatever your little heart desires. And that's basically it right there. Easy peasy. And so let's talk about some of the common questions that come up so that, you get the most out of these workouts, And the first common question is, what size rope do I need? This is a great question. And before you begin using just any old rope, what you want to do is measure it to your height. So when you stand on the middle of the rope, the handles should reach your armpits, and if they don't, or if it's longer, basically if they don't, then that rope is too short for you. If it's longer or if it goes beyond your armpits, then you can basically wrap the excess around your hands if necessary. And that's pretty much it, And here's another good question. What's the best jump rope to use? So when choosing a good quality jump rope, there's a number of things to really consider, but there's no hard and fast rules as to what's good or not. But, first, choose a rope that has lightweight handles, because otherwise your arms will burn out in seconds. If you're trying to hold that up and spin the rope at the same time, your arms are going to get blasted really quick. Trust me. The second is that the rope has to turn smooth and fast, and have a good, comfortable grip that doesn't really slip when you sweat, because that's a big thing, You don't want, you have these weights in your hand and you're whipping it around. You don't want that to fly out your hand, you know what I mean? And so the third thing to consider is the quality of the rope itself. So a nylon coating is much tougher and lasts a hell of a lot longer than vinyl coatings. And you can also use a beaded or plastic speed rope because they tend to whip around faster and it makes for a more intense workout. And the last question is the best because we talked about how jumping rope forces you to use the right form, but the question is, what is the right jump roping form? And that's simple, really. First of all, you have to gradually prepare your lower body for the impact of jumping. So start off on a waxed wooden floor or a rubber floor or something like that. And then you hold the rope with your hands at about hip height and your elbows slightly bent, and, keep your upper arms close to your sides. Your chest should be out and your shoulders back and down. This is what's known in the fitness world as proud chest. You have your chest out, shoulders back and down, comfortable. That's called proud chest. And with all of this in place, then you make your jump small and land on the balls of your feet. And that's it. Now you're all set and ready to jump rope like a pro. But obviously, just like a pro, you'll need to practice. Because as we all know, practice makes perfect, or as perfect can be, I suppose. But anyway, that's it, you guys. That's my show for today. I hope you found some valuable information here. And if nothing else, I hope I've entertained you for a few minutes and was able to bring you a little manly sunshine to your day. Thanks for taking time out of your day to listen to me. It's very much appreciated. On next week's episode, we'll be going over how to become a morning person. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. And if you'd like to continue the conversation with me, then get on over to podcast podcast.daspination.com/VIP to get on the VIP Insiders community where I share even more raw behind the scenes stories, tips, and hacks that'll keep you feeling younger and younger each and every day. That's podcast.daspination.com/VIP. Again, that's podcast.daspination.com/VIP. Be in the know starting right now. Also, don't forget to rate me on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you're listening to this episode right now, and leave me a nice, fat, juicy 5-star review and some absolutely beautiful words of why you love the show so much. It really helps me get the word out there, and it's honestly, the one place where your vote truly matters. Until the next chat, take care now. Bye.